Hey paint team, I'm Joseph with Paint in the Box, and we're gonna go over a couple caulking tricks. I'm gonna try not to laugh when I say that, that our team does when they're out on a lot of job sites. So most of you know we need a caulking gun. These are actually, these are pretty lightweight. They're not the super cheap ones you see like with the metal that you can get for $2 or $3. This probably costs anywhere from $10 to $20. Not quite sure. TJ will put it in the link. And then some good caulking. This one, it's a Suremax brand from Sherwin-Williams. It's white. And then you can actually color these with like a caulk tube colorant if it's clear, but that's kind of another thing for another video. But you can pick this up at any hardware store. Just make sure it's not latex. I mean, make sure it is latex and it's not silicone. Because like the silicone, great, it's real shiny, great for sealing some things, but you can definitely not paint it. Like paint doesn't stick to the silicone. Okay, so here's one secret. I know some of you all know this, but this is something I learned about a decade ago. So I was taught to use like a wet rag or like a painter's rag, and I'm wiping my finger on it and I'm getting caulk all over the place, and then it's getting dry. It's just super annoying. So what I was taught is you just take one of these automotive sponges and a bucket of water. I like to have a little warm water if it's available. And you just wet it and then wring it out. And so what this does is when I start caulking the door frame over here, you know, you're gonna smooth out your caulk with your finger, and then I wipe it on this almost every time. What does that do? It cleans your finger, one, and then it puts a thin layer of H2O, dihydrogen monoxide, water, over your finger, and that way it's a little bit easier to slide over the caulk, keeps everything clean, and all of that jazz. So why don't we try this over here, TJ? So bad thing about this is these are the same color, so you can't see the contrast that much, but I'm gonna try to caulk this crack right there, and then I'm going to show you another trick on how not to get caulk like on the trim. Okay, so what you wanna do is we already cut this. You don't wanna cut these way down too far. So, and then most of these guns, they have like a puncture rod or something like that. So if you hadn't already done that, you know, you'll just take it out, make sure it's punctured. There you go. And then the cool part is this, like if you don't cut far enough down, like you can always cut a little bit farther down. So, and then I usually like take a little bit out, wipe it off, make sure I'm totally ready to rock and roll there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this corner. There's no right or wrong. I'm just going to put a nice straight bead of caulk right there. And then here is where the rag comes in super handy. So you can take whatever finger you want. Like I'm a pretty small guy, so like I can use any of my fingers. Some people like, you know, some of their pointer fingers a little bit larger. So I would just work it this way and then just wipe on here so it gets it moist, and then I'll work it the other direction. Now, there's a couple things you can do here. So right up here, I want to smooth out that area, so I'm actually going to use my sponge. Now, when you do that though, it kind of messes, it does two things. It presses the caulk into the corner, but it also kind of messes up how it looks. So I'm wiping every single time I do this, so I'm just trying to get a nice, smooth look. There's no right or wrong how to do this, and now that looks fantastic. Now, I probably didn't get quite enough up there, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix this corner real quick. Yeah, you can see the indentation. Another bad thing about this, well, here's the negative using this. If you get too much water and you're like pushing up into a corner, right here's not a big deal, but like, let's say you were doing trim, that water would sit down there sometimes. You definitely wanna run your finger, make sure you get all that water out of there. If you're using, it's not that big of a deal on like white caulking, but like the clear caulking, it's not as viscous. So it likes to sag a little bit more. So no big deal. I'm gonna go over it again. And I would always say less is more, especially with caulking. So you just have to decide, see how I kind of just took it partially down. I didn't go all the way to the corner. It's just, you decide where you want to stop. And I'm just going to try to smooth it as best as I can. Clean that up, and that'll be done there. So there's some people on our team that like to really wipe a lot of caulk on here and then clean it. I like to keep it clean as I go, so I'm just gonna wash it in here again so I can start fresh. And now I'm ready to start on the side of the door jamb. Now, I'd like to show you too, this takes a little bit more time, but I think it's worth mentioning. So we're gonna pretend that this is finished trim and I don't want anything on this, or let's say this is a different color. Let's say I'm going to paint this wall. No problem getting paintable caulk on the wall, but I definitely don't want it up onto finished trim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape just outside, just far enough out of the trim where I'm not I don't want caulk past my tape line. So wherever I want the edge of my caulk to be. You definitely don't want to tape way down in here because there's not enough surface for the caulk to grab onto this trim. You definitely want a little bit of surface there. But I would say I want my caulking to go about halfway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take some frog tape. And you can do this with other tape too. Didn't want to stick. That could have been my finger. Let's find out. Okay, so I got a little water up there. It's not sticking very well. And I'm gonna run it down. So I'm just running just a nice tape line there. A little bit hard to see because the trim's white. Okay, so I got that down. So I'm just gonna continue down right here. So I'm just gonna put my bead of caulk. Now, here's the beautiful part about this. I can work it just like a regular caulking line. And I'm just gonna run it up. All the way back down. And you can see, look, I've got some caulk right on that tape line. A little bit hard to see, but it's there. So, this section's done. So what I recommend though, when you're doing this, you have to take your tape off as you go. So what I'll do is I'll take my tape off down to here, and then I'll put another piece of tape all the way down. So I'll pull this down, and TJ is gonna show you. You can kind of see the caulk line right there. Lighting's a little bit hard. Here, go ahead and get in on that light over there. So you can kind of see where the tape was. Makes a really nice clean line. Now what you're probably gonna ask is, okay, do I have to tape this twice if I'm caulking and painting it? Yes, you'll have to tape it twice. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna wait for that to dry, and then I would be able to come and take tape again and just tape outside my caulk line and then paint from there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of information to work with next time you're thinking about caulking some trim. Is you know, you don't necessarily have to use frog tape, but you know, definitely a good caulk gun, high quality caulk, bucket of water, and a sponge really goes a long ways. And then TJ will put all of the different things to purchase, or the links to find these items in the description below. So, all right, see you next Tuesday.